On this episode of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, we discuss how it's finally here. It really is finally here. Spring football starts, and we'll tell you all that we're looking forward to in regards to spring football and spring football and spring football and spring football. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis. Before we get started, I do want to tell you that this episode of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast is brought to you by Stat Hero. Stat Hero is reshaping the way you play your fantasy sports. Dozens of house-based games to play daily. No sharks, no funky props. Just your skill versus the lineups you choose. Sign up today at stathero.com/lockedon. Also, thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do us a favor. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell for updates whenever we put a new video up. That will come in handy in the future. And, of course, upvote the video itself. We would appreciate it. So, spring football is here. It's upon us. It's everything that we've been pointing towards ever since I started doing this show, because as I told you, I am going to do football, at least a segment every day, because at the end of the day, you can tell by our numbers, people care more about football than other sports. They pretend to care about other sports, maybe to virtue signal a little bit, but in the end, the football videos get the most pull. It is what it is. So spring football is starting at Ole Miss, and the storylines that we are following is we're going to start with the quarterback competition, and we're going to talk for the next little bit about the quarterback competition because it is the only story going into the fall, the one that everybody cares about. It's Jaxson Dart. It's Luke Altmyer. It's a competition for the ages. It's honestly what we're hoping for is what they tried to make the Chad Kelly competition into, even though we were deceived, we were lied to, all of this, and it ended up being Chad Kelly, but this competition could actually be the competition we've been waiting for. Now, make no mistakes, Jaxson Dart has the advantage in this competition. For Luke Altmyer to win the job, he has to win the job. It has to be no doubt. It has to be an absolute no-doubter for him to be the starter, because Jaxson Dart has the advantage. Now, whenever people transfer in, there's an expectation of everything going on, and also because of that, you probably put the probability, so to speak, at the no practices done, never seen him throw a ball live at about 60%. So it's about a 60-40 split right now that Jaxson Dart will win. We're going into spring training with that. And this is with the unknown of winter and February workouts and early March workouts going on. There's leadership that was built then. There's stuff that can be translated over and carry over into spring practice that will affect the quarterback competition. Just because people aren't paying attention to it, just because it's not public, does not mean it's not happening. Because, I mean, it's a really big deal. It really is. And I think everybody should understand what's going on in the quarterback competition, because it is a really big deal. And it's something that everybody can look towards and be really honestly proud, because whoever comes out of this quarterback competition, it doesn't matter who wins. It doesn't matter basically who you root for, because at the end of the day, the winner of this quarterback competition will be exactly what we hoped for. It will make our team better. If Luke Altmyer wins this job and beats out Jaxson Dart, the football team is better because of it. If Jaxson Dart wins the job and beats out Luke Altmyer, the football team is better for it. There's no need to root for a quarterback candidate. And I know people tend to like picking sides now for some reasons. But it's just not necessary, because in the end, whoever wins this job, the team will be better off for it. And that is part of the competition tenet of this program. Because remember, the three competitions of this program are pro mindset, which basically means handle your business. Whenever I was at Ole Miss, pro mindset was protect the team, but it essentially means the same thing. It's about doing what you're supposed to do without being able to be told what to do. Just do it. The second one is fun. They want this program to be really fun, to where you see the fire extinguisher on the sideline and all the stuff they do. It's about fun, and it's about the projection of fun. And the last tenet, and it really should be the first tenet actually, I may have done them out of order, is competition. And they want as many good players to be battling for reps at as many positions as possible until further notice. If it's Lane Kiffin, if he had the team that he wanted, it'd be 4 stars, 85 4 stars, everybody battling for the same position. He likes that. He wants that to know. He wants to see the cream rise to the top. I mean, it is what it is. But it's something we can look forward to, honestly, because this quarterback competition will be absolutely fun. I can't wait. I've been talking about this since January. It is, like I said, the story until Labor Day. We're going to talk about it nearly every day. And because of that, get used to it. Well, I have video of spring practice, the first practice. First video of Jaxson Dart throwing the ball, Zach Evans running the ball. Jalen Watkins catching the ball. It's going to be freaking fantastic. Michael Trigg catching the ball. First video is going to come out tomorrow. We're going to be able to see them in Ole Miss practice jerseys, and that is going to be really cool and something we should all be thankful for. Now, we'll talk about it, and we'll do commentary on it just like we always do, because it's, like I said, the story going into Labor Day, and it's the most important thing. There's other positions of note, and everybody's going to want to talk about other positions, and we are going to talk about other positions. But we felt we would be remiss on the day that spring practice began not starting with the quarterback competition because of what it stands for, because of what it means. It's just a really, really cool thing. And like I said, that hype video of Jaxson Dart was fantastic. Then the video was released by Luke Altmyer of him putting in work. Two different things, because the hype that comes with Jaxson Dart is real, but the thing that's going to beat him out is actually doing his job. So it's actually pretty smart from Luke Altmyer to basically just show himself being a quarterback, because he's not going to win a hype contest right now. He's not going to win that fight. The only way he is going to win this job is by winning this job, making the correct reads, making the plays when they're available, seeing the defense's coverage shift, understanding what's going on, making big throws like in the Sugar Bowl on the run, getting out of trouble. That is how Luke Altmyer can win the job. Like I said, he's operating at a negative right now, but it's not an impossibility. It is not a certainty, no matter who tells you anything going into this. Jaxson Dart is probably going to win the job. He has all the advantage right now. But, like I said, 60% at this point before a pass is thrown. And they have a chance to get that up after spring training to 80-85% chance of Jaxson Dart winning the job. We won't know about that. Just remember, this staff notoriously distrusts local media. I think it was because Lane Kiffin got really burned at Southern California and honestly at USC from the local media. He doesn't trust them. So he goes through the national media. That's the reason you see all this stuff breaking. And then events transpire that just reinforces his view. So we're not going to have a situation to where information is fed to you the way it used to be done. And make no mistake, during Tommy Tuberville, David Cutcliffe, Coach O, Houston Nutt, Hugh Freeze, Matt Luke, information was planted. It was sent out. It was designed to, show interest in whatever decision they were doing. They just decided to try and play the media to get their views as the viewpoint of note. The problem is, after 20 years. And just go on any message board out there. The people that actually pay for those sites and do that have almost become the sour of the sour. It just is all attracted there. And so basically you want to silo those guys now and put them off on their own little island, separate them from where everything else is going on. You know, feed them a bone here and there and whatever. It doesn't matter. But if you do that, you can prevent the cancer from spreading throughout the fan base. And you want the narrative to be controlled, because the benefit of having a national coach is that he can go to the national media. It just is just as pure as that, really. But it's going to be a huge quarterback controversy, and I am going to look forward like the dickens to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and the next month is going to be great. Anyone take Kentucky and now your brackets are busted? Yeah, mine too. It's not looking good, but I got some cash from Stat Hero Pick'em. If you haven't checked out this new platform, you're really missing out. Stat Hero's NCAA Pick'ems pit the star players against each other in an amazing hybrid between fantasy and sports gambling. Take control back from those handicappers that always seem to have the advantage. Start focusing on the players that you know best, and with a gameplay that doesn't rely on big spreads, long odds, or funky props. Stat Hero gives you the advantage, resulting in the gamers winning 4 times more often. Why? Because Stat Hero eliminates the mystery about who or what you're going up against. So here's what you need to do. Sign up for free right now at stathero.com/lockedon and use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% match. stathero.com/lockedon. Promo code LOCKEDON. Terms and conditions apply. All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Do us a favor and give us a 5-star review at iTunes. Go on to iTunes and review us. You can say whatever you want to say. Just give us a 5-star review. That'll help other people searching the show on their platforms so we can show up on their podcatchers and all that good stuff. So thank you very much for that. Now, in the first segment, we talked all about the quarterback competition, and we're going to continue to talk about the quarterback competition. It is what it is. Just understand that this is going to work out that way. But there's other players that I'm interested in seeing. I'm interested in seeing Zach Evans at the running back position. Now, before Bentley gets there in the summer and Judkins able to get these reps, this is a very important spring for the running back room. And there's a lot of steps forward that these guys can take. Now, if Judkins can be the guy that everybody expects him to be, the 3-headed monster could be a thing. Now, don't forget about Kentrell Bullock as well. I'm not forgetting about him. And he has a chance, just like everybody else, to take the steps that he needs to take. But Judkins really has a chance to make a name for himself, almost like Henry Parrish did when he came on campus in 2020. Zach Evans as the Jerry and Ely type guy. Judkins in the middle, and if you have Bentley as the Snoop Connor guy at the end, because I'd like to see that type of guy going against the tired defense. Could be pretty interesting, but in order for that to happen, this spring is huge for a high school senior going into college that's going to be a true freshman. It's going to be a big deal, and you're going against grown men. These defensive players are good, they're talented, and they're men. And because of that, it's going to be hard for a true freshman. But I can't think he can do it. He has excellent lateral movement. He's not necessarily a home run threat guy. He's kind of a quicker than he is fast guy. But as we've seen from Jerry and Ely the last couple of years, that can play. But he also has like 20, 25 pounds on Jerry and Ely. So it could be quite interesting to see. Now, Jalen Watkins going into the slot, along with Jalen Knox. This is a really big spring for those guys. Now, one of them is a transfer this year. One of them is a transfer last year that had to actually sit out. He's one of the last players to ever have to sit out. It's absolutely ridiculous, but he's there. He's a really good player. He was the guy that made Connor Bazelak at Missouri look like a future star, honestly. Now he's the quarterback at Indiana. But Jalen Knox kind of made that happen with his explosiveness. And his offense his skill set didn't really match what Eli Drinkwitz is doing up at Missouri. And it wasn't really a fit. But there's certain plays that you could see this guy had a lot to offer. And because of that, seeing him in the slot could be quite interesting moving forward. I'm really looking forward to watching the spring game. Everybody talks about how it doesn't mean anything. It's all a show. It is and it isn't. It's not a game that the coaches look at a lot of reps for. But this could be a very competitive spring game because of how deep we are and how we talked about competition is a tenet of this program. So the spring game could be at a higher level than we are used to. Now, I'm not expecting anything special. I expect a lot of inside zone, a lot of outside zone, some simple pass stuff that we put on film multiple times over the last 2 years. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing trick playish. Nothing like that. And because of that, whenever the offense is simple, you can really play. So it could be some beneficial film that you get to put on camera going into the summer program where you have a chance to make your name known. Somebody like Braylon Brown and Jonathan Mingo, they absolutely better have a fantastic spring. Jalen Knox and Jalen Watkins, they better have a fantastic spring. J.J. Henry, I expect him to move up. He played a little bit last year, not a whole bunch, but he's a little flamethrower in the slot. Now, you've heard me say over and over that we needed to get big at wide receiver, but you can get away with putting him in the slot from time to time if he can make the plays that are deemed necessary. But with Jalen Knox and Jalen Watkins, that could be a little bit difficult on the outside. Mingo, Heath, Braylon Brown, Brandon Buckhalter, potentially Deion Smith. You have a potential for a very crowded wide receiver room and also a lot more sharing, a lot more moving around. That is something you can keep an eye on and something that, honestly, Ole Miss has needed for several years, honestly. But on the offensive side of the ball, like I said, this is probably the most talented offense that Ole Miss has ever had. Now, to quote the Miracle on Ice, it's one thing to be talented. It's quite another thing to be good. So they're going to have to work. They're going to have to improve their craft. They're going to have to make that talent really look and share the direction that they want to go. Because, honestly, they're the key. We'll talk in the next segment about the defense. But the offensive wise, there's so much talent on that side of the ball. And everybody's worried about the offensive line. I'm not worried about the offensive line. I'm not a little bit worried about the offensive line. And everybody's going to point that Baylor game. Yes, you had a true freshman calling protections. And you had a guy that Baylor was absolutely blitzing, and they were a really good team. And they were able to cause a lot of havoc. I think Ole Miss probably would have won that game if Matt Corral stayed in. Period. It is what it is. But the offensive line, they were figuring out how to make plays. Since it's an RPO going both ways, that decision also determines what you do. Holding the ball from time to time can put the offensive line in a pickle on those RPOs. And because of that and what the Baylor defense was doing, it was just a bad thing for a true freshman quarterback who honestly didn't get a lot of the reps. So I'm not at all worried about the offensive line. Not even a little bit. If it was horrible and things were going on, then Texas A&M would have eaten Ole Miss alive last year. And Texas A&M absolutely couldn't. They almost ran for 300 yards on the Aggies. So I'm not overly worried about a team. Now, are other teams going to see what Baylor did and try to replicate it? Absolutely. That is going to be a thing, and that's something they've probably worked on since January 1st. And they'll work through it all through fall camp to try to make sure that their protections and what they're doing is not so predictable that they could be taken advantage of by the defense. Ron Roberts at Baylor did a fantastic job. Dave Aranda, very much. He's a professor. He's good. He does what he does. And because of that, he was able to put the Ole Miss offensive line in conflict from time to time and kind of taking the fight to them. And I think that was a little bit of a wake-up call. I do believe, though, that the players at Ole Miss are talented enough to do what they need to do. And I think we'll see that starting today, honestly. So it's that time of year again as college basketball's tournament is finally upon us. From the latest odds to contest and player props, BetOnline.net is the #1 source for all your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, upvote the video, and of course hit the bell for notifications of new videos. We talked about the quarterback competition in the first segment. In the second, we talked about the offense as a whole. Now we are going to talk about the defense. Now, the important thing to know about the defense is that essentially it was confirmed that the 3-2-6 was around because Ashim Young broke his jaw and was going to be out for spring. But part of the story about him being out for spring is somebody saying he knows the system. Now, why is that important? Well, Ashim Young comes from Iowa State and has played where they run, famously, the 3-2-6. And if he knows that system without having a single install at Ole Miss, that means the 3-2-6 is going to be a thing. Now, Ole Miss runs a little bit different of a 3-2-6, but the base is going to be there. The primary is going to be there. Now, you're going to see probably some four-man fronts and some stuff they're able to mix up because they're able to do that with the talent that they have. They have so much talent everywhere. They can go from 3-2-6 to 4-2-5 to 3-3-5 in an instance with honestly the same personnel groupings. So you're going to see a team that can do a lot of stuff at once, but they're going to base out of the 3-2-6. That is one thing that we learned before spring practice. Now, I'm interested about Jared Ivey, Tywan Malone. I want to see what he looks like. Katie Hill, I want to see how he has grown because at the end of the year, he was an unsung hero of that defense, and I don't care who knows about it. Just an absolute unsung hero, and that just made me proud to think of all the work that he did. But, Troy Brown, I want to see him at linebacker. I want to see who his partner is going to be in the 3-2-6. I want to see Otis Reese. I want to see Tysheem Johnson. I want to see Davison Igmanuson, the role that he plays. I want to see at the cornerback position the growth of somebody like Markevious Brown, who has a chance to be a really special player. I want to see what the defense looks like with those guys because they have a chance to be quite good. And if they're good, you can look out because, like I said, the offense is the most talented offense that Ole Miss has ever had. But the defense gives them more margin for error moving forward. It's important that they are better than we expect them to be. Last year, remember, the funny thing was, and everybody made jokes about this, they might deny it, but it's true. It's absolutely true. And it's part of the reason they don't trust what's going on around the periphery. But they came out and said the defense is going to be better. And everybody spent months laughing at them. And saying things like, oh, if Ole Miss can be in the top 100, it would be a miracle. Because they're not very good. Because they're such a prisoner of the moment of things that just happen. You can't really look at that. You have to look at every situation like this as a new thing. Every game is a new game. You can't really take from the past and look into the future too much. It's just a crapshoot. It's a roll of the dice. Oh, you were bad last week, you're going to be bad this week. No, it doesn't work like that. Now, it can work like that, but that is merely a coincidence. That is not any type of an expression of fact. So going into this season, the defense gives the offense more margin for error. And the schedule sets up quite nicely for them. Going into week 5 against Kentucky is kind of the first game where they absolutely have to get right. And until then, They've got Troy. They've got Georgia Tech. They've got Tulsa. Forget who the 1AA team is or the FCS team is. But they have a chance to get right with the 4 non-conference games. Their first conference game is Kentucky, because the Alabama game got moved from the first conference game to like the third from the last game of the season. Alabama has been moved specifically to be in that doubleheader window. There's a chance that CBS is going to be at Vaught-Hemingway in a night game going into that Alabama game. There's a chance. They expect that to be unbelievably entertaining. Unbelievably entertaining. And they want the Lane Kiffin versus Nick Saban storyline. And because of that, they put them in a position where that doubleheader is in play. That's the reason that game got moved, by the way. That's the reason that game is like November 12th or whenever it is for the chance that CBS might want to put them in prime time. That game is going to be nuts. Absolutely nuts. Vaught-Hemingway is going to be a zoo. If everything goes the way I expect it to go, that game is going to be absolutely nuts. But I'm ecstatic for this season to happen. Between Ulysses Bentley IV, I just love saying that name, and Zach Evans at running back, those guys are going to be able to pick what they do and almost name their damage to start with. And then on the outside, and Jaxson Dart and Luke Altmyer and Michael Trigg and all these weapons that are everywhere. It just stresses a defense so much. And I'm really looking forward to it. And it all starts today. Heck, probably all started now by the time you listen to this, or it's already happened. Now, to let you know the way we're going to do this, the media response from today will be in tomorrow's show, but we also might do an extra. If there's some little piece of the press conference that's worth doing an extra for, we will do an extra and talk about that and provide commentary of what's going on. If not, the press conference highlights will show up in the next day's program. Now, also, we will have Bill Flowers and hopefully Cody Pruitt over the next couple of weeks to give their opinions of what's going on and their commentary and their perspectives, just to help you out. Don't listen to everything I say. Listen to them as well. So it should be a lot of fun. Now, on top of all of that in the Locked On Ole Miss broadcast, we have the Derek Vandy Griff stuff that is going to continue over the course of baseball season. And talking about yesterday's show, talking about the Ole Miss Tennessee series, which is very symmetrical. There, Ole Miss is 1 and Tennessee is 5 in one poll, and in another poll, Tennessee is 1 and Ole Miss is 5. So it's very symmetrical. But it should be a lot of fun. This is Tennessee's first true road test, and should be a lot of fun. If Ole Miss can get that series, that's a big one moving forward, and I think everybody should be happy about that. Anyway, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. You've heard our plans for spring football. Tune in tomorrow for more of that. So now make your second listen Locked On NFL Draft. Ryan Tracy and former NFL cornerback Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life with insight and analysis on college football prospects and NFL front offices. It is free and available wherever you get your podcast. Anyway, this has been a lot of fun. I'll see you tomorrow. Hotty toddy.